I'm going to talk to you about the world we live in and the process of socio-economic development which should be followed in developing countries. Being a scientist, I can say that we live in a world where truth has become stranger than fiction, and every day brings 1,000 discoveries, and many of these are transforming our lives in some predictable, other unpredictable ways. For instance, let me give you a few examples. So some scientists discovered the genes which are responsible for luminescence in fireflies, and then they transferred these genes to orchids. The result was sparkling luminescent orchids which shone just like fireflies do it in the night. Some other scientists discovered that they could make blind people, completely blind people, see with their tongues. How did they do that? There was a special set of glasses which had a little camera fitted on it, and these glasses took the optical signals which were transferred into a device in the pocket of the blind person, which converted the optical signals into electrical signals, and these electrical signals were then transferred back into a lollipop-like device in the mouth of the blind person, which allowed him or her to partially see, differentiate a knife from a fork, or see the lift buttons and so on. And this thing has already happened in the last year or two. Recently in India, the company Tata has bought a license from a French company called Motor Development International, and this company has developed a technology which allows cars to run just by air pressure. All you need is an air cylinder at the back of your car, and this car can then go up to about 250 kilometers or so on one charge. The cost is about 10% of what it would normally cost to run the same car with petrol. So you then go to a pump where you fill up your cylinder with air, or you can go home and plug your car onto an electrical outlet, and the built-in compressor would recharge your air cylinder. So cars running without petrol, just on air. Other scientists have invented aeroplanes which do not use any internal fuel anymore. Once they reach the speed which is 5 times the speed of sound, Mach 5, they can use the oxygen present in the stratosphere as fuel, and so they can basically perpetually go on flying without any internal fuel. So there are strange and wonderful things happening. Just recently, Professor Craig Venter in USA developed the first synthetic life. What he did was he took the DNA present inside a bacterial cell, took out that DNA, and got a computer to synthesize, to lay the map of a new DNA, which was then synthesized in the laboratory and then inserted into the bacterial cell. And this new engine which was synthesized, this new DNA, then took over the functions, the living functions of the bacterium, and over 1 billion copies were produced, and this made headlines because this was the first synthetic life. And this is happening just 5 or 6 decades after Crick and Watson discovered the structure of DNA. And now we are looking at plants, understanding the structure of their genomes, understanding what part of the plant gives rise to what properties and what functionalities. We are looking at human genomes and understanding what is responsible within the human genome, which makes your eyes green or brown or black, and which makes your height as it is, or your hair, or the way your heart functions and your brain. This is the software that nature, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, has laid within all of us. The fascinating world of genomics. And this offers now hope for in the field of crop production, for instance, where salt, you have seen different plants growing happily on the seaside, so they are obviously salt tolerant. What gives them this salt tolerance? Obviously the structure of DNA within them is fashioned in this manner, and so scientists are taking out and understanding what piece of their DNA imparts those properties, transferring them into maize or rice so that you can grow food crops using seawater. And this has huge implications on civilization as we know it. We are a planet with some 6 billion people. It will be about 9 billion by the year 2050, offering huge challenges to civilizations to produce enough food to meet the growing population demands of our planet. In the area of energy, again, some wonderful things are happening. For instance, to light bulbs like this, wireless light has been invented so that energy is transferred through the process of magnetic resonance. You don't need a cable coming to light that bulb or to run this camera if it is on electricity, and you can just use magnetic resonance to transfer energy. In the south of France, there is a very fascinating project called the ITER, ITER project, in which obtaining deuterium, which is an isotope of hydrogen, and tritium, which is another isotope of hydrogen, they are trying to fuse these two isotopes so that you will be able to produce energy just by replicating the process through which the sun or the stars produce energy through fusion reactions. This is how our sun produces energy, for instance, which gives and blesses this world with warmth and with life. So in almost every field, and we all know what has happened in the area of information technology, which has transformed this world into a global village and linked all the societies together across the world through these knowledge highways which link us together. So this is the world that we live in, the world of knowledge, the world of research, the world of discovery, the world in many ways of serendipity, where scientists following their noses often stumble across new things which they hadn't anticipated, and they then impact our society and our lives in unforeseen ways. Let me give you one more example. Certain scientists who are looking at the way certain compounds are made by the stars, these are known as polycyanoacetylenes, tried to reproduce that chemistry on Earth. What they did was they took graphite and heated that to high temperatures using lasers, and lo and behold, they ended up with a football-like molecule. These became known as Buckminster fullerenes, or fullerenes in short, after a gentleman known as Buckminster, who 150 years ago used to devise church domes in that manner. So they have 60 carbon atoms and all linked together, and they look just like a football with 5-membered rings and 6-membered rings fused together. If you looked at a football, that's what it is. That's what makes it round. It's 5-membered pentagons and hexagons fused to each other. And other scientists took these fullerenes and made carbon nanotubes out of them, which have found millions of applications now. And yet other scientists have taken these very molecules and synthesized so that they are half balls rather than complete balls, and trapped drugs inside them so that you have slow release drugs caught up in this half or 2/3 of a ball. And yet other scientists have used these fullerene based materials to make super lubricants. So out from the chemistry of stars have come super lubricants and slow release drug molecules and various nanofibers, and so on. I could go on for hours and hours talking about this fascinating world of science and discovery and of research. And this is what universities, what the research institutions are doing in the West. They are investing huge amounts of effort and money in research. A lot of it is basic. Much of the applied research is done under the umbrella of industries, where they have huge research and development facilities, and these then often lead on to products and processes which impact our lives.